This is a debate between Destiny and Alex Jones and a number of other people on the right. It's a debate on like Hunter Biden and China and, all the other crazy stuff that they talk about. Anyway, so let's give this a listen, see what they have to say. And while we do, we're going to play some Breath of the Wild too. I'm just kind of running around doing whatever. So if you never played it, shouldn't bother you too much. It'll be in the background. All right, let's listen to this, shall we?
There is a situation. There's a 33-year-old man right now named Doug Mackey, who, now this was not censored on Twitter, but he posted a meme that disparaged Hillary Clinton and her supporters in 2016 using his constitutional rights.
Oh, I remember. I think I heard about this. Didn't he threaten her directly or something like that? I don't remember exactly what he did, but I think Doug Mackey, let's see. Social media influencer Douglas Mackey sentenced after conviction for election interference in 2016. Sentenced by U.S. District Judge N.M. Donnelly to 7 months in prison for his role in a conspiracy to interfere with with potential voters' right to vote. Yeah. I remember this now. Yes, totally. Wait, what? I'm looking for an explanation here. As proven at trial, by 2016, Mackey had established an audience on Twitter with approximately 58,000 followers. Is that considered an audience? That's cool. I guess I'm a social media influencer as well. A February 2016 analysis, I'm totally down with people thinking that 58,000 is an audience. I just don't know because I've hit these numbers, so I'm kind of biased. I'm looking, inside. I can't look from the outside in, so. A February 2016 analysis by the MIT Media Lab ranked Mackey as one of the most significant influencers of the then upcoming presidential election. Between September 2016 and November 2016, Mackey conspired with other influential Twitter users and with members of private online groups to use social media platforms, including Twitter, to disseminate fraudulent messages that encouraged supporters of presidential candidate Hillary Clinton to vote via text message or social media, which was legally invalid. I remember this. Yes. I actually have some screenshots of it, as a matter of fact. I'm not sure that these were all specifically from Douglas Mackey, but he was involved in this campaign, basically. Publius Gaius. I don't know what that means. Text Hillary to 59925 to vote for Hillary from home. Thanks for spreading the word, MAGA. I'm with her. Vote Hillary from home. Save time and avoid the line. Vote from home, 59925. I'm with her. Go Hillary. And it was in Spanish, too, I guess. Interesting. Well, anyway, there you go. The dude lied in an attempt to deceive people and get them to think that they already voted when they did not. How many people did that, affect? Out of the tens of thousands that he influenced, or maybe millions. I don't know how many people or how many millions of people saw these ads. I have no clue. But it wasn't zero. It was probably in the tens of thousands, maybe even the hundreds of thousands. Hell, maybe it was in the thousands. Let's just assume it was 8,000 people, high end of the thousands, right? Let's assume that 8,000 people fell for this. Lauren Boebert won by 600 votes in this past election. 600. Even the smallest number of people can influence an election. So this is not nothing. It's totally 100% worth investigating and charging the guy if he was taking part in this, which he very obviously was. He was sentenced to 7 months for it. And I'm glad he was sentenced for it. It's just wrong. Dude is lying to people. And what are these people doing? They are justifying his lies. They're justifying his attempt to influence the election. His successful attempt. That's just wrong. Quick note before we continue, I'm writing a book about my experiences inside the religion of Jehovah's Witnesses. I cover the culture and doctrine. It's understandable even if you know literally nothing about the religion, so I'd appreciate if you gave it a read. To find out more, go to owenmorgan.com/book. All links are in the description, of course. Okay, back to the video. Let's just step back a little bit. Now you have the context for who Now you have the context for who Douglas Massey is? Was that it? Mackey. Douglas Mackey. Now you know who Douglas Mackey was. Listen to what they said about him.
not censored on Twitter, but he posted a meme that disparaged Hillary Clinton and her supporters in 2016 on using his constitutional rights. He was just convicted in a federal court for posting his meme, and he is now currently awaiting sentencing for potentially up to 10 years in
No, it was 7 months.
prison for
This guy, he was already sentenced.
now currently awaiting sentencing for potentially up to 10 years in prison for posting a meme in an election.
What is he?
Now, this was not posting a meme. And this isn't using his free speech. This is like Donald Trump's defense. I was just using my free speech. You were using your speech to coerce people to break the law for you. Like Al Capone was just using his free speech when he told people to go murder somebody for him, right? How could Al Capone be charged with the crime of, I don't know, murder or attempted murder or, I don't know, whatever other charges he had? How could he be charged with that when he was just using his free speech? That's the argument they're giving right now. This dude was intentionally and knowingly interfering with the election and influenced who knows how many people. Maybe was even responsible for Trump's win, because I think Trump won by somewhere around 70,000 people total across 5 states. If 70,000 people had voted differently in 2016, we would have Hillary instead. So how many people did this guy influence? How many people did he bring over to Trump's side? Or how many people did he pull away from Hillary by telling them they could vote by texting? Really?
Potentially up to 10 years in prison for posting a meme in an election.
What
He has to know that it's more than that. He has to, right?
is he charged with?
He is charged with infringing rights. Conspiracy to infringe rights.
The Ku Klux Klan Act, which was
it's the KKK Act.
which was passed after the Civil War and intended against the KKK when they were actually, lynching people and preventing them from voting.
What? Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure what they're talking about. Are they saying that the act that he was charged under was used by, to convict the KKK? Okay, fair enough. I mean, is he saying that people don't do that anymore, or people don't interfere in elections anymore? The problem with what the KKK was doing was not necessarily the lynching. Yeah, that was bad. They'll be charged with murder for that. This is an additional charge on top of the murder charge, which is interfering with elections to scare people into not getting involved in any way. That was the point of what the KKK was doing. So they're charged with murder, and they're also charged with interfering with elections. It's pretending that this is completely unusual and outrageous or something.
They were actually, lynching people and preventing them from voting.
What? Yeah, I'm curious. What was the claim that he was trying to do? Obviously, it has to go beyond just the meme, because a ton of people post negative memes about.
The memes actively discourage people from voting.
They didn't actively discourage people from voting. They tricked them into believing that they had already voted. That's not the same thing. I'm actively discouraging Trump voters from voting for Trump. Completely different. But in this dude's world, it's exactly the same, apparently.
You didn't see the meme?
I know that there are laws on the books, for instance, so...
there was more to it than
Yeah, so here's something, because I've heard stories like this brought up before.
It was a text-to-vote thing.
My understanding is the only time this has ever been done.
Well, hold on. My understanding is that in the United States, I don't believe it's the only time. I think in the United States, if you give misleading information about where to vote, I think that's a federal election crime.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, so...
Yes, that's correct.
If he was doing that, then it wasn't just a meme. If he was saying text this to vote or go here to vote, I believe that is a crime in the United States.
That was a legit crime.
You're cool
I can't even believe that they're defending this, like what this kid did. What?
with a guy going to jail for memes?
No. Hold on. It wasn't just for memes.
Yeah, but intent matters.
It was a text. It was a text.
And
it was a text to vote.
Yeah.
So
Yes, it was text to vote, and it was a lie.
do you think that people actually texted this thing thinking that they were voting?
Yes, they did. Absolutely. This actually happened. Quick interjection. This won't take long. If you like what I do, it would be awesome if you guys checked out my Patreon. All links are in the description, of course. Okay, back to the video.
And for example, the fact that
I know that's a law. That's the only thing I would say. Is that
I will
the law
say
was
that
there.
after, I believe, 6 years of investigation, the federal government was not able to find one person, not one person. That's
It
why
doesn't
it's a
matter. I don't think it
conspiracy.
matters. If I go out and I were to post, if I were to draw a poster,
But I'm not asking about them. I'm asking you.
Right, I would say-
you couldn't find one person who bought it, who
No, I don't
actually
know. I
fell
don't
for
know.
that meme.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. He did something illegal with the intent to whatever, and that's all that matters. The fact that he did it with this intent.
I have no ideas. I would just say that if that's a law, I can understand why they brought that case. Then his lawyers can fight it out in court. My thing is, where I agree with you guys, is when you have any
That's like
kind
Soviet
of,
Union stuff, man. You're like, oh, they could fight it in court.
no,
That's no big deal.
What I'm
This is absurd.
saying is that he was convicted, or at least he's been charged with
He's convicted.
election
No, he's
fraud.
convicted. He's
election,
convicted.
But that's election fraud.
No, it's not.
It may not be. I'm just telling
It
you
is
that's what they-
constitutionally protected American
it's a
speech.
civil
But it was
rights.
a vote. It was a text-to-vote thing that they were able to. They won that case, so I don't know.
No,
I'm
you're
not
right.
a lawyer.
You're right. I mean,
what I'm saying is the biggest threat is this, and I agree with you guys. If you have a council, and I don't care what council that is now, I don't care who those experts are. If you have a council that decides what is to be censored and what is not to be censored, that to me is dangerous. I do think it has to be left to the people to decide. And I do think that we'll eventually learn, and we are learning in real time, how to take everything with a grain of salt until we can prove it. And we won't be so fast to act. I think the marketplace will figure out a way to say, here comes this story. Is it true? Is it true? And then and there'll probably be a whole industry that'll sprout up that we can rely on. And I think if you let the marketplace do their work, you will have companies that will earn the public's trust. And they will be the ones to say, this is bullshit or this is.
Yeah, companies will never earn the public's trust. It's not going to happen. It's just not. Companies will always be, or people will always be skeptical of companies. Rightfully so. I don't think people should ever fully trust any companies to do anything.
Real.
I wish we lived in this utopia that you're describing.
Kind of, don't we have that already though?
No,
So wait.
where?
Okay.
Well, so if a story's floated and it's bullshit, what we all rely on is essentially the consensus. Even though it's mainstream media, usually we figure out, that was a lie. So the Steele dossier, for example, right? We kind of go, sometimes we're like, wait a minute.
The Steele dossier was never held up as a bastion of like true factual information or whatever. That was never presented as factual. It was always questionable. The Steele dossier is that thing that said that there's like a P tape on Trump or whatever, and it was simply opposition research on Trump by Hillary Clinton, and it somehow like got out or something like that. It was never actually believed by officials or news outlets or whatever.
Is this holy shit? The Russians have all this stuff on them. This is crazy. And then pretty soon somebody goes, it was bullshit. And it
took a long time.
It took a
long time, but this is the world we're living in.
It took years. It took millions of dollars of investigations based on a complete lie.
Right.
It would use to hamper the president of the United States, which is essentially an internal coup against the elected
But
president
what would we
of the
do
United
about that,
States.
though? But what
that
would
was
we
being
do?
done.
But-
What would you do is that you wouldn't let the deep state and these national security agencies determine the actions of the duly elected president.
How do
You'd
we
allow
do
him
that,
to do his
though?
job.
How do we do that?
You don't listen to bullshit.
That's what I'm saying.
That's not an answer.
The federal government.
No, but I agree with
You don't allow the federal government to be able to come in
I agree.
and
I agree with you.
launch these crazy investigations
Yeah. Well,
based on this, and that
they're gonna
and
investigate,
in
but
order to get back on it. I'm sorry.
Too many bureaucrats.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
and
Too many bureaucrats.
honestly, what I would do is I would start by locking up some of those people, like Mueller,
Locking up bureaucrats? Okay.
like Christopher Steele,
What
like
is
these
the-
people
what is
that
the
launched all of
crime?
this.
What is the crime?
Well, you just said conspiracy to infringe rights.
So they're saying that spreading information about something, spreading information that is not factual, is the same as intentionally spreading, or intentionally setting out to deceive people so that they don't vote. Like setting out to tell them that they've already voted through some other means or something, and lying to them and claiming that they voted already. That they're not the same thing.
Is that
infringe
the
the
purpose
rights.
when he was
They
when he was
infringe the
elected as a
rights.
special prosecutor?
They
His goal was
infringe-
to go and infringe the rights of
They
Donald
infringe the
Trump?
rights of every single person in every single state that Trump won to have the president that they elected.
This is not a real crime. You're not speaking of a real crime.
Okay,
Also,
well,
to go back real
you were
quick,
just
to
cool
go
with
back,
the guy getting thrown in for memes.
To go back, well, hold on.
You're
so first,
totally
it
fine with
wasn't-
that.
Hold on. So to be fair, okay, because I looked this up.
It was not a meme.
No, because I'm curious. So, one, according to federal authorities, almost 5,000 voters fell for the texting ruse. It
No,
wasn't zero. I
no,
don't know
they
if you guys
no,
know.
that's
Oh, I love it, dude.
Number
not
one.
true. That's not
number
true.
Two, number
That's
two,
not true.
Number two.
They
Number
found
two.
numbers
he was
who
convicted.
texted it,
number
not
two,
who fell for it.
Number two, he was
Not one
convicted by
person
a jury
testified.
of his peers.
He was.
convicted on a jury. It wasn't just a government censorship or just a judge that did it. He lost in court.
No, I mean, I think that's right. I mean, that is not.
No, well, the
it
first
is
thing
right.
you said is not true.
Well,
Not one
that's
person
right.
testified that they fell for
text,
this.
No one's
That's
ever.
not-
I don't care if anybody testified that they fell for this. They found that 5,000 people had texted the number.
Why would a person have to testify that they? That's not how
most
it
of those
works.
texts were obviously
Literally,
jokes.
you need
They were
evidence
Republicans
at
texting.
trial.
But-
That's how
but no,
trials work.
The evidence.
There was clearly evidence.
The crime wasn't did you trick somebody. The crime was did you try to trick somebody.
Then why did you
Yeah, exactly.
just bring up that number?
Because that number was what federal investigators said that they'd found in the course of their investigation.
Okay, but you just admitted that it's extraneous.
Look, the point.
No.
Sure, and I mean, it's not relevant to him being charged. He still should be charged. But that number being texted was part of the process of investigating and should be brought up. So what? We have new extra information that was irrelevant to whether or not he should, be charged or convicted.
No, it's extraneous to the conviction.
Then why did they bring it up?
Because you brought it up first by saying that nobody was tricked, which is not relevant.
The point is,
it was
that
relevant in the discussion of his point that they were infringing on
the point
rights.
is that no government has ever interpreted that law to include parodic jokes that nobody, really would take seriously and arguably was not.
So this guy, this lawyer, supposedly, I guess he's a lawyer, apparently. This lawyer is saying that this was a joke, that this guy wasn't trying to deceive people with these memes, like we were looking at earlier. These, I'm not even comfortable calling them memes. They're just, no, they're not memes. Memes are, colloquially at least, supposed to be like funny and interesting and something that I don't know, like they don't have to be funny. Technically, a meme is just something that, like an idea that spreads from person to person, but colloquially, memes are just things that are funny to people, right? This isn't a meme. This is a specific intent to deceive people. Avoid the line, vote from home, text Hillary to 59925.
Intended sake.
Okay, guys.
Now, and so.
This is what pisses me off. This is false. This is fake. What they're saying right now, it's a lie. It is false information that they are presenting right now, these people. And invariably, we have a moderator, quote unquote, who comes in and says, okay, well, we're going to close the book on that one, instead of doing what a moderator should do, in my opinion, which is make sure that factual information is being debated rather than simply like one side lying and the other side not lying. If facts cannot be agreed upon in the debate, what's the point of debating?
And that, mere speech had never been used in such an extensive way. Really, any fair reading of the history of the law was for physical intimidation, threats of force, threats of violence, or clear.
Okay, so he's saying that's how he interpreted that law, that it has to include force or violence. Well, I simply disagree, good sir. I think that it's any action that serves to discourage people from voting, basically. In my opinion, that's what that law was intended for. And either way, that's what that law can be used for, obviously, because it was.
Clear physical efforts to, confuse people. And it was a very dangerous thing when the government took this extraordinary step.
Oh, complete bullshit.
Of taking a meme 4 years later. And, just as a little backstory about the way Washington works, it was filed like the month Trump left. because the lawyers at DOJ had been working on the suit for 4 years and been waiting for Trump to get out of office.
But it wasn't a meme, though, right? He wasn't convicted technically for a meme. He's
Yeah,
convicted.
100% convicted for a meme.
Okay,
Yes.
guys, we're gonna.
You know, he was convicted for deceiving people into voting or into believing that they had already voted.
We're gonna go to Q&A.
Yes.
See, and now we've got a moderator saying, okay, well, now that we had 20 straight minutes of one side of the table just straight up lying and misrepresenting factual information, I'm not going to try to correct it so that everybody knows what the factual information is. I'm just going to move on to Q&A and let those lies stand. That's what drives me absolutely nuts about debates sometimes. Text people is not necessarily a crime, but to make a process to vote that way would be. Yeah, and they weren't even making a process to vote. They were claiming that you could vote that way. That was the issue. You could, it could reach absolutely nobody, and it would have still been a crime.
Probably come up in Q&A.
So, which was a joke. So
here we go.
It's like the question is, do you want to live in a country where people can go to jail over jokes?
No.
It wasn't a joke.
No.
Well, it's unclear what his intent was.
No, it is not unclear what his intent was. We know what his intent was, to deceive people. That was proven beyond a reasonable doubt in front of a jury. That's what he intended to do, and that's what he actually succeeded in doing.
Can you speak to that?
The jury did not find it as a joke.
Okay, guys,
The
we're over
jury was
here.
not able to find any.
All right, guys, we're over here. Let's
question of
start
intent.
number question one.
Oh, we got it. Oh.
Is NPR state-funded, and should any other...
Like, here, this is another thing. This subject is not a matter of opinion. Is NPR state-funded? This is a factual question. It can be answered with a factual yes or no answer. These people are not debating ideas. They're debating factual information. This just drives me up a wall. The answer is NPR receives government grants the same way that anybody who goes to college receives a government grant. Wow, I'm actually having a lot of trouble finding trustworthy information, but like we've got the Heritage Foundation weighing in on this and everything else. All right, this is from The Hill. They're reasonably trustworthy, and I think they have a slant. But anyways, it was tendinious. I've never heard that word in my entire life. I have no idea what tendinious means. I'm going to have to look this up later. Let's see. Define tendinious. Expressing or intending to promote a particular cause or point of view. Okay. That's new to me. It was tendinious and inaccurate for Elon Musk to identify NPR on his Twitter platform as a government-affiliated news organization. NPR may have its biases, notably in its story selection. I haven't seen any evidence of that, but okay. But to class it in the same category as the new China news agency, or in their day, Pravda or TASS, is both argumentative and absurd. Yeah, because Elon marked NPR as state media, state-funded media. Local news stations are required by law to blah, blah, blah. What is the percentage? I think it was 1%. 1% of its funding from the federal government. Reality is more complex, should raise questions for those who care about the future of public media, blah, blah, blah. It says here, at the same time, however, it's misleading for NPR to assert in rebutting Musk that it receives about 1% of its funding from the federal government. NPR may receive little direct federal funding, but a good deal of its budget comprises federal funds that flow to it indirectly by federal law. What? Here's how it works. Under the terms of the 1967 Public Broadcasting Act, funds are allocated annually to a non-governmental agency, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, overseen by a board of presidential appointees. That corporation, in turn, can choose to support original programming produced by public TV or radio, but by law must direct much of its basically $500 million funding to local public television and public radio stations across the country via so-called community service grants. Okay, so they receive some money in grants from the U.S. government. When the term government funded is used, I assume that that means the government has some sway over what they say or do over story selection or whatever. And that's just not the case with NPR. It's just not. Anyways, this is yet another example of them starting a little fire, a little piece of propaganda that takes 20 minutes to explain, but only like 2 minutes for them to, or only 30 seconds for them to spread.
Media organization entity receive the same amount of funding?
I think that you should have labels on every single corporate Twitter account based on how they're funded, all of them. Well, corporate or government.
So I think the issue specifically with NPR is, my understanding is NPR and PBS are state-funded, but they're not state-ran.
There you go.
And that's a key difference, because people will point to things like the BBC or NPR and they'll say, oh, well, these are state-run media. That's not true. They're state-funded, as opposed to, say, Russia Today, which is state-funded and state-ran, meaning that the state dictates the agenda of the media. It's a huge difference.
Yeah. Maybe there should be separate labels.
I agree.
So
there
just
should
put
be,
the label. I think
Yeah, I don't think it really even matters. If it's state-run, then it should have a label. Otherwise, I don't care.
they did change the label for NPR and BBC, didn't they?
All right, next question.
I think it says government. I think it says public funded.
It says publicly
Does it,
funded.
I thought
yeah.
they were upset. I thought the reason why they wanted to pull it because it said state-ran media. I thought that's what
Yeah, it was the same label as the Chinese state-run media. Same label.
They changed
actually,
it.
they changed
did they change it?
changed
Okay.
Yeah.
So this pertains to censorship and content moderation. Is not freedom of reach, freedom of speech. So if
Wow, interesting. So freedom of reach is freedom of speech. That's a term Elon was using for a while there. Basically, what he's saying is you don't have a right to be algorithmically boosted. If you aren't interesting or you're saying something that's completely ass backwards or whatever, you don't have a right to, have your tweet or your video or your whatever boosted massively. That's not part of the equation. But you're still free to say it. That's the difference. So, do you have a right to be on my platform? Am I allowed to say, no, I don't want Donald Trump on my YouTube channel? Am I allowed to say that? Is Flashpoint allowed to say, no, I don't want Owen Morgan on my show? Is Kenneth Copeland allowed to say, I don't want atheists to appear in the TV shows that I play? I want it to be about Christian pastors. That is, of course, completely allowed and should be allowed. You have a certain subject that you want to cover, a certain group of people, and you should have the right to talk about whatever subject that is. So anyway, this is just like freedom of reach is not freedom of speech, and vice versa. Unless this guy wants to force Kenneth Copeland to allow me to go on his channel.
If somebody turns down the volume on what I say so that no one effectively hears what I say, is that not the same thing as just stopping me from talking in the first place? That's for everybody.
No. The reason freedom of speech laws existed originally was because people were being jailed for saying what they were saying back forever ago, back in like England and in other areas. People were being jailed for it, and there was this deep fear that, any criticism of the government would lead to jail time. And nobody wanted that. That's not a system that we want to live under. So when the Founding Fathers created the new system, they said no one will be jailed for saying what they say. You don't have a right to form out a gigantic audience. Like, if you're standing on a street corner where a whole bunch of people are, those people choosing to leave doesn't affect your right to say what you're saying. But you're not going to be jailed for it. That's the key difference.
I think it's a hard question. So, for instance,
It's not a hard question.
you have a right to somebody else's platform as part of your freedom of speech? If I were
There you go.
Were to build a megaphone big enough that people were to use, do you have a right to my megaphone just because I've built it and I've made it available to other people? I think there's a strong argument to be made that the social media companies have gotten large enough that there probably needs to be some sort of consideration or special consideration given to them, because it does feel like if you get banned off 3 or 4 platforms, you are effectively completely delisted in U.S. society. But it has to be a more sophisticated conversation than just revoking Section 230 for every single social media company.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Trump is trying to do, revoke Section 230. And that would have been a disaster, complete nightmare, as a matter of fact. Actually, a whole bunch of Supreme Court cases either already went through or are about to go through. I think they already went through. They were adjudicating Section 230, I believe, even after Trump left. And I thought for sure that some of those Supreme Court cases were going to go the wrong direction, but they seem to have gone the right direction, surprisingly.
Completely agree.
Technologies
That's
from the
mine,
telegraph to the telephone, they were required by law to be provided to everyone. So
Dude, I don't know what that, loud popping is. It's driving me nuts.
everyone could enjoy them. And I think the same rule applies to social media. We can't have a certain elite saying, these are ours, sorry people, you can't use it, when we've done the opposite for telephones and telegraphs and it's worked fine.
They're saying it's a public utility. Internet is a public utility. People's individual platforms are not public utilities. I mean, I've heard this argument before. I just disagree with it completely.
Is that true?
Yes.
Is it, if I wanted to buy telephone service, the company is obligated to sell it to me? They can't say no?
I believe that is true, actually. I think that this was adjudicated. I think that AT&T is banned from revoking people's access to telephone service. I think that was decided in the Supreme Court. I could be wrong there.
No to a customer?
It's called common carrier.
Okay, gotcha. But internet service providers don't have common carrier status, right? Okay,
not yet.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
Go for it.
Yeah, I think it was adjudicated a long time ago, too, like when it was like switchboards and stuff. I don't know, like 50 to 70 years ago or something. It's against the rules or against the law to deny people access to a telephone, basically, or to telephone service as customers.
Thanks for all being here, guys. I wanted to ask, today we just have this justice system that really assumes guilt and has to be proven innocent.
No. This woman doesn't understand the first thing about our judicial system. There used to be, long and long ago, under other systems, there used to be a system where you had to prove your own innocence, but your innocence is assumed when it comes to how juries interpret your trial. When you start out, everybody assumes you're innocent, and the state has the burden to prove that you are guilty. Instead of you having to hire an attorney to prove that you are innocent, the state has to have somebody else battling to prove your guilt, basically. It's just a difference in how the system is set up.
What should we be doing to actually get back to being innocent until proven guilty?
The fact that she's even saying this tells me she doesn't understand the first thing about the judicial system, and she shouldn't even be here talking about it because it's so stupid.
And is social media part of that problem?
I'm sorry. It's not stupid. It's just misinformed.
Guys, I wanted to ask, today we just have this justice system that really assumes guilt and has to be proven innocent. What should we be doing to actually get back to being innocent until proven guilty? And is social media part of that problem?
Yes, it's a huge problem. It's a huge problem because
It's not. You just don't understand how the judicial system works.
what happens is the minute you're accused of something, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. What happens is every corporate sponsor you have and everybody you have business with.
Oh, corporate sponsors. Wow, yeah. You have a right to a corporate sponsor, totally.
Stops doing business with you because they all go too sticky. So that's a huge problem. So due process is.
You don't have a right to a corporate sponsor. Give me a break.
Dead for a lot of people because the minute somebody comes up and says you did this, and the problem with that is that person gets a story and you get a statement and you're f***ed. So if you are in a certain industry and somebody makes an accusation about you, See you later. And it doesn't matter how old that accusation is. It could be 30 years old, but go fuck yourself because
This is ridiculous, dude, honestly.
every corporate sponsor goes, I can't, sorry, love you, but we can't do it. And that's a huge problem. So anybody who thinks
it's not a huge problem. You don't have a right to a corporate sponsor. It's not a problem within the judicial system. Her question was about the judicial system specifically. This is ridiculous.
still live with in a society where you have, and what it does, it creates an atmosphere of terror. People are terrified because I'll tell you something. Everybody's going to choose paying their mortgage and sending their kids to school and feeding their kids over a higher principle. And I don't blame people for doing that because that is the biggest problem with social media.
Okay. Well, you don't have... All right, here's the thing. Since time immemorial, there have always been people who said batshit crazy stuff, and there have always been other people who decided not to work with those first people because of the crazy stuff that they said. That is not you being canceled. That's not censorship. That's not guilty until proven innocent. It's not a fundamental flaw in society. That's how it works. If you say that you believe that, like, Joe Biden is a lizard person or an alien or some other shit like that, you can expect people to think that you're absolutely insane and not want to work with you anymore. That's just how it is. I'm sorry.
And I see it all the fucking time in Hollywood. All the time.
Oh, my God.
And there's no way you can fight it. And people just go, yeah. And everybody feels ashamed and hangs their head, even when they know that this person is innocent. And it could be in anything. And we see it.
Well, to be honest with you, I have seen examples personally of an insane mob attacking somebody that I knew for a fact was innocent. And this group of people were attacking this guy on completely unjustified grounds. And as time went on, the claims and accusations got even more intense and insane and illogical and nonsensical. Like, I was next to this person when this thing was happening, and I know that this is not how it went down. I've seen that on multiple occasions, 2, 3, 4 times, personally, to larger influencers that I know. I was standing next to them when this event played out, and I know for a fact they didn't do this. It is disturbing as hell to watch that take place, to know that this person did nothing wrong. Like, holy shit, dude. And if you say something, you're next. That is deeply scary, seriously.
All the time. And so I don't know what to do about that problem. I really don't. But until the money...
Well, the thing is, that can't be regulated away. That's just a cultural thing. Like, people are scumbags, you know? That's just how it works. Welcome to reality. People are absolutely terrible. They will create hate mobs against others for absolutely no reason. Because they want to. They like it. They want to hurt somebody. You know? There's no solution, quote-unquote, to that.
Until corporations go, hey, we believe in due process. And if you believe that, if you want to cancel somebody, you're next. You're next. And the only thing standing in your way is the organization in power, which switches all the time, is going to favor you, or it's going to kind of gloss it over and move on to the next person.
Okay, I think that when you're dealing with people one-on-one, there's no realistic way to stop people from being attacked by hate mobs. That's just not going to happen. But I don't believe that, say, YouTube or Twitter or whatever should remove somebody's account or ban them or whatever, or suspend them, whatever it happens to be. I don't think they should do that until due process has played out.
They don't agree with. And that's the biggest threat, I think, right now. I see it all the time. And I see too many people's lives get ruined as a result.
The biggest one most recently, speaking to what you're saying, is Johnny Depp.
Listen, man, I got 1,000 friends, including myself. You know, I've fucking, you know, all of them. Yeah.
But yes. we don't all exactly have the same kind of resources Johnny Depp does to fight back.
Exactly.
And that's the thing.
Yeah, a lot of the time you just can't fight back against extremist nutcases that are trying to ruin your life. a lot of the time it is what it is, and these hate mobs exist everywhere. I mean, there are people from other countries that take part in this, and they're completely immune from like libel or defamation suits, completely immune because they live in, another country. That's welcome to society. This is just part of it, unfortunately. To correct that, we should personally be aware that this happens from time to time, that in a completely unjustified way, and we should temper our assumptions and concerns with that knowledge in mind. And we should also expect companies to not ban somebody over allegations. Wait until there's some hard evidence from a court or a court order of some sort. That's what it seems to me.
Exactly. And cancel culture is very real. And what it means...
cancel culture is not real the way that they're portraying it. I have seen people attacked over nothing, but cancel culture is not real like this.
Means is all of a sudden you can't work and you got to sell your house and your kids have to say goodbye to your dog because you can't find a place. I've seen this with my own eyes in Hollywood.
I mean, I've seen people be attacked by hate mobs. For the most part, I think companies wait until there's more information before kicking people off platforms or whatever, though. But he's talking about a very niche, specific issue that only affects influencers of some sort. This is not common for regular people. It's not even a problem for regular people because they're completely unaffected by, they can say things anonymously online. Influencers or famous people or whatever cannot. So anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's actually a reason, though, that one of the reasons that I err on the side of allowing for more open social media, because if you've at least got a platform somewhere, if you've got your followers, if you've got people who have your back, if you have people that'll at least listen to your side,
right,
then you can get something going. Then you can get something going and push back, or at least have people to fall back on if times do get tough and all those labels want to pull out.
Yeah, if you're a podcaster, if you're a comic, if you're certain parts you can weather certain storms.
Right.
If you're just an actor, if you're just a director, if you're just a producer, if you're just an agent, if you just work at Netflix as an executive.
Who is he talking about? I feel like he's got a very specific set of people in mind here because he keeps talking about actors and directors. Is he talking like, I don't know, is he referring to oh my God, what's his name? Weinstein? He's talking about Weinstein. Is that his name? That famous director that went to jail for all that messed up stuff he did to people? Harvey Weinstein. That's it. Harvey Weinstein. Is he talking about Harvey Weinstein?
We'll see you later, and nobody's going to touch you. And all it takes is a story. It doesn't have to have any corroborating evidence. And you have a lot of activists and press who are looking for clicks because they don't make...
This is such a niche issue that basically never happens to anybody. I understand that sometimes hate mobs gather and attack people, but it's a very small subset of people that happens to, and of people that take part in it. Comedians are not being booed off stage for absolutely no reason. Like, look at Dave Chappelle. He, his first comedy special about trans people, it was actually really funny. He had some really good one-liners in there I thought were fantastic, on point. It was not his comedy that I had a problem with. It's when he said, I'm not joking now. I am a TERF. I do not think that trans people should be whatever, allowed in bathrooms. Or I don't even remember what it was that he said now. I had a problem with the serious shit that he said. Now, I haven't seen any of his comedy specials since. I understand that he's worse now than he was then. But even Dave Chappelle wasn't canceled after saying that. Dave Chappelle got some pushback for his jokes, which is 100% justified, but he didn't get canceled. He continued to hold, comedy special after comedy special and appear in all kinds of places. There was no cancellation for him. So I don't know what, cancel culture these people are talking about. Yeah, there are a few nutcases who are trying to ruin people's lives. but it's really, really uncommon, and it's a niche issue.
Any money, and they got to figure out a way to make a story out of this.
Yep.
So the temptation, it's a systemic problem. It's a real issue. And
It's really not an issue.
I like the Whisper Network. Personally, I think the Me Too movement, in a lot of ways, is a good movement because I like fair play. And I also saw a lot of women deal with a lot of bullshit. I've been in that business for 30 fucking years. And I saw women have to eat all the dicks, no pun intended. I really did. And it sucked for them, and they had no way to fight back. And the minute they made one argument, the male Whisper Network canceled them, and that happened forever in Hollywood. And it wasn't until 2017 that Harvey Weinstein and the monsters got taken down, and all those shitheads got put on notice.
Oh, okay. I thought for a second that they were defending Harvey Weinstein. I couldn't tell. I guess he isn't.
But with every revolution, it will eat its young. You better be careful. And because the pendulum, Americans have so much trouble being in the middle. We have to swing one way or the other. And I think that's the biggest threat. And I don't have a solution for it. I really don't.
I think hitting on the last thing you said there, I think the problem with cancel culture is it's not social media driven. I think it's just driven by who we are as people. Yeah. I think that people
there you go.
aren't capable fundamentally of having so much information thrown in front of their faces. Like, I think we're built for, what is it, like 50 friends, I think is like sociologically, like how many you're able to keep at one point in time. If you show me like a Twitter feed and you put a story up of some guy and I see a headline, like 99.9% of us aren't even reading the fucking story. We see the headline, oh, that guy, I guess, probably rapist, and then click off and then next, and that's it. And that's the only thing we do. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a thing, because when we talk about cancel culture, it's not really driven by social media companies. It's not even really driven by corporations. I think it's driven by people's just binary view of other people.
Absolutely agree. Hard agree there.
And when you've got unlimited access into people's lives and you can see any mistake or any error or any reported issue with that person, it's very easy to flip a switch in your head and go, F that guy, I hate that guy, I'm not going to support these companies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't know, that's something that we have to get over.
I do wish corporations would say, let us look at the evidence first.
The real thing is, I think corporations need to have a backbone. Because, are people really going to boycott Nestle or Pepsi or Coke because they sponsor some guy that had a thing? Like, I don't think it'll happen.
Right.
But
Yes, they will. They will absolutely boycott these people or these companies if these people support them. I mean, the boycott probably won't affect the company very much. Look at Netflix. People still watch Netflix, even though they decided to platform Dave Chappelle despite his anti-trans views. So I think the boycott will happen, but it won't really affect anybody very much. That being said, I do think that companies should wait for evidence to come in before taking dramatic steps. Also, if somebody is not financially valuable to a company, that company has no interest in working with that person anymore. That's just what it is. Welcome to reality. If YouTube was losing money from working with me, then they'd cut me off. I mean, there'd be no reason for them to do that. They can't lose money on me. I mean, they're not losing anything. Even if I was like completely toxic, they wouldn't be able to lose. They wouldn't be able to lose money on having me on the platform. But if they were, they'd cut me off just like that. Doesn't matter if I was guilty or innocent. Doesn't matter. Any of that stuff matters. What matters is that they're losing money. Period.
corporations buckle so fast because they're so worried that like something is going to blow over, and destroy their. Yeah.
All right, let's bust through a bunch here.
Okay, first, I feel like I need to make a public confession and commend Mr. Ottman. It appears the other day in the lobby of the Hyatt, I told him to get out of my seat. And he did not say, "Don't you know who I am?" I think he deserves a hand for the grace that he did.
Bill Ottman, ladies and gentlemen.
Bill, why are you sitting in his seat, man?
An American hero.
Well, anyway.
He's a big...
Okay, I don't know what that's all about, but great.
Man. Handsome. He's tall, thin, and handsome.
He's got a cane, too.
I have been involved in Republican politics for quite a few years, to the extent that so far this spring I've met and talked to 3 presidential candidates. I'll probably meet another one in another week. I'm on a first-name basis with half the members of the House in my state.
Great, awesome, fantastic. Okay, what's the point here?
The Secretary of State of my state calls me Dan. The governor...
Like, what is his point? Okay, you know famous people, great. Or you know influential people, I guess.
recognizes me my site, and I've had lunch with both of my senators more than once. So I think I have a fair appraisal of the Republican rank and file thought in flyover land. And I've been hearing tonight what Republicans think, and my reaction was, really? Not to people I run around with. So I would like to ask.
I mean, okay, great. Not to people you run around with, but public figures, public Republicans are talking about hating trans people and, I don't know, Hunter Biden's laptop and all that other junk. These are like all key issues for them.
Destiny, the source of his knowledge of what Republican rank and file think.
About what particular issue, I guess?
Any of them.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about Twitter files, I'm going to be talking about Taibbi's reporting. I'm going to be talking about what Republican lawmakers or I guess people on Twitter or YouTube are saying. If we're talking about, I mean, it's just going to depend on the thing.
Yeah, like Tim Pool, Republican, whether he likes to admit that or not. He spreads misinformation and bullshit all the time about Twitter files and stuff like that. I don't know what this guy's talking about.
But I guess I'd need like one or two examples, or just like one example, I guess, of what exactly we're talking about.
I was talking about when you just said, this is what Republicans think.
What was it? What was I talking about? This is what Republicans think. What was that?
I mean, yeah, what was that in reference to? And besides that, I mean, there's always an exception to the rule, but people like Tim Pool and Joe Rogan and Russell Brand and Jordan Peterson set the rules for Republicans largely. And so does like Trump and Mitch McConnell. They set the talking points, the themes.
A reference to?
It was closer earlier in the evening.
I think Alex Jones scrambled all of our brains a little bit. I wish I could remember specifically, but I try to... Wait, what did he say?
It's all right. Just the next one.
Okay.
He said you don't have to answer the question if you don't want to. There is no valid question here.
With all the talk about TOS flagging, why have none of the free speech warriors tonight talked about the Elon Twitter censoring on behalf of the Modi government?
Dude, I love it. Yes, absolutely.
I think a lot of people are actually upset about that. You watched...
No, they're not. I haven't heard a single word from any people on the right, or, honestly, I don't even hear things from people on the left very often about the Modi government and Twitter censorship.
Sagar and Crystal were really pissed at him for doing. I mean, Elon has successfully enraged both the mainstream and independent media now. Like, banning the Substack was a bad move. I think that it was probably impulsive, and he didn't really think it through.
Yeah, maybe so. Banning Substack links, I remember that. He was trying to, because he viewed them all as competitors, and that was really, really stupid of him. And did not, garner any sympathy or goodwill toward him when he did that. That was really stupid.
And he'll probably apologize for it.
He'll probably apologize. Of course, he never did. I mean, this isn't even an old debate, I don't believe. This is brand new, to my knowledge. When did this come out? Oh, this is 8 months old, apparently. I thought this was a newer one.
I want to thank Minds for hooking it up with a ticket tonight. My name is Rachel. I'm with the Liberty Broadcast. We broadcast here in Austin. And I just was wondering, what is it going to take to get us all on kind of, like, I'm watching you through the night, and I agree with this gentleman. You've been on every panel all night long, and I just have watched you harden and harden and harden more. And I'm hearing you yell out conspiracy theorist and Alex Jones and...
Is she talking to Destiny? I think she's talking to Destiny, right? Hang on.
all of this stuff, and I feel like this side of the table is willing to sit down and have a conversation, but I feel like you're okay with just dismissing things like Hunter Biden laptop. There was proof of that. The Twitter files. There were emails sent.
Like, all of this stuff is very, very flimsy at best and complete nonsense at worst.
And I mean, we can't just dismiss these facts. What is it going to take? A decentralized platform, social media platform where everybody gets a chance, and there's not, this.
I don't know that
Elon
he was
Musk.
dismissing things. He seems to have been. He seems to have been taking on all these subjects in good faith.
But I've heard him yell. Conspiracy theory. Let me you rock up so hard.
Let me explain. Okay, here, this is my issue. Okay, this is what I hate about alternative politics is that oftentimes there are so many super organizations built up that the listener at the end of the day, you guys have no idea what the you're supposed to do. There's nothing actionable. And if you're just listening to political commentators that are feeding you fear, that are feeding you resignation, that are telling you that the entire what? That's fine that if you don't agree with it. That's what Alex Jones said. Rewind the tape. Go to rumble.com/live/destiny. You can watch the whole thing again. That's exactly what he told you. I asked him specifically. I specifically asked the question because I ask everybody this question. What do you want people to do? And that's really important. So what do you want people to do about it?
He's like, you use words like conspiracy theory.
Alex, what do people do about it?
Theory.
What do you want people to do about it?
I want people to be aware of
No, not be aware. What do you want people to do about it? You've made them aware. Now what are they supposed to do?
People.
This is the problem with your platform.
Let me talk.
All you're
You're trying to.
I'm sorry. I thought you were doing this for like 15 years. I thought you had a quick answer.
If my platform's so weak, why are they trying to ban it?
Yeah, go ahead. What do you want people to do?
What are you going to do, boy?
What do you want people to do, Alex?
I'm going to wreck the New World Order. That's what I'm going to do.
Okay. No,
That is not useful. That information was not useful at all.
Conversation. Who cares about a conversation? What we need at the end of the day is you need no, lady. You guys have had conversations about this shit for a decade. What are you gonna do?
Oh God, people would definitely view that as sexist in any other context. If he wasn't at like a far right Republican like nutcase convention right now, he probably would have gotten all kinds of shit for that one.
About it, right? You have to do more than talk. You either have to. You've got to.
But he's talking.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're kind of discrediting this engagement. Like, I feel like overall it's been pretty positive.
I don't need you to defend me, okay? Listen, okay? I took my fan base out. I spent $150,000 of my money, and I took my fan base out, and we went to canvas for political candidates because I think that's important, right? Encouraging people to register to vote, encouraging people to get involved in the local communities. These are the types of action.
Yeah, Destiny famously canvassed for Democrats forever ago. I think maybe 2016, is that when he did it, or 2020? He went out and did all kinds of work on the ground for Joe Biden, I think, because he believed that Trump was a destructive force, which I completely agree with. Any agreement or any disagreements I have with Destiny fall to the wayside when he does things like that. I mean, then he kind of turns to like kind of light apology. It's one of the big things that people were unhappy with Destiny over. A woman said that she was with somebody and she found out that they like took a condom off in the middle of what they were doing, and she said, "Don't do that, guys. Don't do that." She didn't know what to do. She's in a tough situation. That's wrong for somebody to do that. And Destiny said, "Well, maybe you shouldn't. You should have said stop. If you're not mature enough to say stop, I don't want to do this anymore because you took that off. If you're not mature enough to say that, then you shouldn't. You're not mature enough to be in that type of relationship with somebody." That's what Destiny basically said, and that's one of the most famous things that he gets, criticized for. Basically, things like that. I think he says things off the cuff a lot of the time, without fully like processing or thinking about what he feels or believes about an issue, and then when he's attacked for it or criticized, he feels he needs to double down on it, and so he just kept repeating that over and over and over again. He's like, no, if she can't blah, then she shouldn't be in that type of relationship. So anyways, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Destiny for a variety of reasons, but not just that either, just a few others. But he did get out there and canvass and try to improve things for people, so get some credit for that one at least.
Exactly.
These are the types of actions that are going to change the political landscape. The guy up here, the Republican guy that came up here that said he hated me or whatever, or I don't know if he said that. That guy, sure. Stop. That guy that came up here, from all the personal relationships he's developed, sounds like he's had more political effectiveness than 99% of the people in this room. But it's because he's getting involved on a...
Oh, yeah. He's talking about the guy who apparently knows like a bunch of politicians. Yeah, he has been politically effective. Absolutely. Destiny's 100% right on this point.
Local level. But if all you do is tell people that the CIA, the NSA, the government, the deep state, that all of these things are out to get you, then at the end of the day, what are you going to do? You're not going to vote? You're not going to get involved in the process?
Excuse me, I mean...
But would you agree that he's having a conversation, though? He is engaging, isn't he? He's not? He's not engaging? Wait, hold on. All he's saying, guys, all he's saying, I probably agree with most of the people. Listen to me. All he's saying is that it's one thing to speak and have a bunch of talking points. It's another thing to come up with actionable things that make a difference. That's the hard part. So all of us can sit here and talk about this.
That wasn't her question. Wait, but that wasn't her question. Like, what are you doing? That, like, you're defending him. Okay, cool. But like, her question was, why were you just like attacking people as conspiracy theorists or saying something's fake when people could question?
Because
like,
80%
again,
are.
like, that's what you're doing.
Because they are.
But like,
Yeah, okay. I don't understand what the hell they're talking about right now.
Alex is a conspiracy theorist.
And so she's asking.
I can't even say it.
Am I crazy?
Right, so
I mean, I like him. He's a nice guy, but I mean, he's a conspiracy theorist.
Right, so
that's his whole brand.
Right. So when you.
Yeah, absolutely. He totally is. Alex Jones used to not be as political as he is now. Used to not be as wrapped up in single political candidates or figures as he is now. He used to, like, it used to be people would hear that you're watching Alex Jones, be like, oh, you're probably like listening to somebody talk about aliens or something, right? He was a conspiracy theorist to the core always, but he was not as like hard on conspiracy, or I'm sorry, not as hard on politics as he is now. Not always.
You dismiss people when you dehumanize people, like you just dehumanized Alex Jones.
I'm not dehumanizing
on the stage.
I'm not.
You just treated him as lesser than a person.
I did not. Just not me.
Wow. If somebody says that you're a conspiracy theorist, then it's dehumanizing language, and you're invalidating him as a person. What?
You treated him like lesser than a person to do that.
Treating him like lesser than a person.
His brand is conspiracy.
Everything he says is fear. Everything he says is anger. It's all conspiracy.
Now, Alex Jones has always been about conspiracy since day one. Since he started InfoWars in like the 90s or the 80s, he's been a public figure in this sphere for a long time. He covered the Waco, Texas massacre, or whatever you want to call it. The cult, the Seventh-day Adventist group. Oh my God. Branch Davidians, yeah. He covered the Branch Davidians all the way back in the 90s, I think. I mean, he's always been here. He's always been involved in this, and he's always been a conspiracy theorist to the core.
I'm saying that's what he said. But then you just.
Yeah, since he had a full head of hair. Yeah, he's been involved in this since he had a full head of hair. There you go. Thank you, Dr. Hayes.
He says is anger. It's all conspiracy. I'm saying that's what he said. But then you just agreed with it.
Right.
And her point is that when you use that kind of language, like you just did, that turns off all the people that might be interested in hearing what you're saying, because you come across like kind of a jerk.
Right. I got you.
Oh, give me a break.
That's fair.
Can you guys hear me?
That's not fair. What? He's a conspiracy theorist. He's always been a conspiracy theorist. What do you mean that turns people off because you're a jerk? That is his brand.
I think you're right. I think the biggest thing, you're absolutely right. I think the biggest thing you have to do is draw common ground first and say, what's the problem we're all trying to solve? And give each other the credit to say, look, so let's take gun control. We don't like spree shooters. Everybody hates spree shooters. Everybody doesn't like somebody who comes in and just massacres everybody. Let's at least agree there. Let's honor the fact.
I don't think so. I don't think that's where it should start. You know where I think it should start? Factual information. We should establish factual information for everybody that we can all agree on. And then we can have a debate. That's where we have to start, in my opinion.
We're both trying to solve a problem, even if you're on this side or that side. And you're right. And I think that's very important, to not just say, you're a gun nut. Well, you're a, that's what you hear. And then the conversation's over, right? So I think to your point, I think you're absolutely right. You've got it. But I do think Destiny is at least engaging, wouldn't you say? No, he's not.
All right, go to the next. Go to the next.
I give Destiny all. Wait.
Go to the next.
Like eight
Go to the
people
next.
back here to
I give him all the credit in the world
for
for being
over you right now, but
for being here.
the host
Seriously,
wants
I
the
do.
question to be
Seriously.
asked.
Sorry. What's that?
Sorry about that. So I'll try to make it quick. To Destiny's point about, what do you want to do about it? I heard a lot of people say that we have to have the government censor people, we can't have Twitter censor people, but nobody ever talks about whether or not a company has First Amendment rights when it comes to free association. So if you want to have a certain rule in place for Twitter, Facebook, Rumble, I don't give a shit, whatever you use for social media, how would you go about that without violating the First Amendment freedom of association section that is as it is currently understood? Thank you.
So interesting. He's saying that companies are regulated as people right now, and that's 100% true. Companies are treated as people. I think that was decided in Citizens United, that they're allowed to Clinton v. Citizens United or something. I don't remember. Anyway, it was a Hillary Clinton case in 2009 that was adjudicated by the Supreme Court, I believe, and they decided that companies can give massive amounts of money to political figures legally because that's speech. Money is speech, and companies are free to use their free speech and blah, blah, blah. It was a set of decisions by the Supreme Court, I believe. So anyways, how do they square that with the fact that they want to make companies into public squares rather than people? How does that square up with their beliefs?
I'm happy to
Defer to the lawyer.
take that one. So, lunch counters can claim that they have a First Amendment right not to include, blacks or whites or whomever because
lunch counters, okay,
because of their expression as a, white lunch counter.
Yeah, except there are lines to free speech like that, period. There have always been lines. There always should be lines. Well, there haven't always been, but there are lines and there should be. There are discrimination lines. You can't discriminate against somebody because of their race, religion, I don't even remember, their sex, and a variety of other things. That's been a law for a long time. That's got nothing to do with any of this other stuff.
We don't accept that. We accept that businesses have basic non-discrimination obligations. In California, that includes, not discriminating against political groups you don't like, as in Virginia, as in the Virgin Islands, as in the city of Seattle. So we're just applying these principles that every other business in the world has to apply to social media, and that's not wrong. Number two, and it's a deeper question, is nobody looks at Twitter and it's like, oh, I want to see what Elon Musk feels about what my mother just posted. No, you go to social media to see the views and expressions of your friends and family.
Okay, I suppose you're going to social media to see the views and expressions of everybody, not just friends and family.
The social media as a whole is not like the local news that presents an editorial. It's more like the telephone company.
It's really not. It really is like, it's not a utility. It's just not. So this guy is arguing for social media being more regulated, or companies basically being more regulated like utilities. The internet is definitely a utility, not social media companies.
Company doesn't present a view, doesn't have any First Amendment rights either.
That's fascinating. So apparently he's actually arguing against Citizens United right now.
Well, hold on. I feel like for what you just talked about, when you talk about discriminating on race and stuff, those are defined protected classes. I don't think political speech is a defined protected class in the federal government. I don't think in California it's defined as a protected class.
Oh well, you're right. I never said it was defined by the federal government.
I'm saying Twitter.
Well, that kind of invalidates his whole argument.
Right now, as it stands, I don't think Twitter can ban you from the platform for being black. I don't think they can do that.
Yes, they can.
That's correct. No, they can't ban you for being black. They are allowed to ban black people, but not because that they are black.
And in fact, I was arguing.
Did this dude literally just say that Twitter can ban people for being black?
platform for being black. I don't think they can do that. I'm pretty
Yes,
sure.
they can. In fact, I was arguing in court with Twitter's lawyer, who said we have the right to get rid of all gay people. And then he said, "Of course we wouldn't do that, Your Honor." But they say they have the right.
Okay, I don't know what he's talking about. I've never heard that. I'm extremely suspect of what he's saying here. But either way, they don't. Oh, wait, is being gay a protected class? How recent was the Supreme Court case? This guy is talking about, knowing this Twitter guy or whatever. That may have been the Supreme Court case that decided that gay people are a protected class. I don't know. I mean, he's talking about a Supreme Court case where people were arguing that they have the right to, like, ban gay people as a demographic. But who knows if that's actually the case he's talking about. I have no idea. At the time, it probably wasn't a protected class, though.
Private company, you mean?
Yeah, the private company.
My understanding.
Okay, guys, we gotta go to the next question. Sorry.
This is what pisses me off. Seriously, people spread lies nonstop, and the moderator just moves to the next question and cuts people off before they can even debunk lies. And when the lies come out, people just say, "Well, I simply disagree with you." Well, I just don't think that this is a lie, when it very clearly is. It was Bostock v. Clayton County. That's the decision that ultimately made being gay a protected class, I believe. I don't know if you guys know Non-Stamp Collector. He's not a YouTuber anymore, sadly. I think he was really funny and really good when he was. But anyway, just listen to this real quick.
Now, before I introduce our distinguished speakers, I'd just like to lay out a few ground rules for everybody to make sure that the debate runs smoothly and fairly. Also, let's not have any impoliteness or name-calling. We'd like to keep the debate civil and polite, and let's not say anything gratuitously offensive to the beliefs or the worldview of the other side. I'd also like to ask the audience to be polite and please not show any disrespect to any of our speakers, no matter how strongly you may happen to disagree with them.
Okay, fair debate rules, ground rules, right? It starts getting interesting here.
I'd like to say to our speakers tonight on both sides that we'd like you to not misrepresent the other side and assert things about their worldview that are simply not true. For example, atheists, we'd prefer if you didn't criticize the Christian side by claiming something like, say, that they have a vendetta against the Jews or something like that. And the Christians aren't allowed to assert, say, the old line that people who don't believe in a single personal deity automatically believe that everything came from nothing, or one of those old lines that used to get thrown around. I think we can agree that it's time to get past blatant misrepresentations of the other side's viewpoint, right? We'd appreciate it if neither side played the victim card and claimed to be being persecuted in modern society, especially if the side making that complaint is the recipient of massive taxation concessions, has astonishing access to high-level politicians, and is usually honoured by being amongst the first to be consulted by government or media on any issue that has some kind of an ethical aspect to it.
So they basically go through this whole thing of breaking down no blatant lies, no misrepresenting the other side, no, acting like a victim when you're not a victim, and so on and so forth. And at the end of this video, he basically says, "Okay, thanks for the debate. It was great," and then walks off. Like, those are the only debate tactics that exist for the far right or for, like, Christianity at this point. Should we even be debating, like, far right nutcases? It's not really Christianity that's the problem so much here. It's just the far right that misrepresents things constantly that I view as a problem. Anyways, yeah, Non-Stamp Collector, he's pretty funny. You should give him a watch. Depends on the state. In Colorado, orientation is a protected class. Yeah, I guess it is a protected class now, but I don't think it was at the time when he said that, or when he was talking about it at the very least, or the time that he was referring to, because he said this is like 8 months ago, and this has only been a few years, I believe. So 2020 is when it originally got passed. I think I remember that case, come to think of it. Neil Gorsuch surprisingly sided with us, like the people who wanted it to be a protected class, and I was blown away by that. And the argument they used, I believe, was that that sexual orientation falls under the category of sex, basically, like gender. Like, you can't discriminate against people for their sex or whatever. And I think that was the way they went with it. But anyway, pretty interesting. My wife, by the way, was giving me some information on this. They decided that it was a protected class because you can't distinguish between sexual orientation and sex stereotypes. Because, for example, if you were discriminating against a man for being attracted to other men, you're basing discrimination off of the sex stereotype that men are supposed to be attracted to women. So discrimination against sexual orientation and gender identity and the likes falls under sex discrimination as part of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. So that's the reasoning right there. Pretty interesting stuff, but yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much the end of the Destiny debate. I thought it was kind of interesting. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. I just, it drives me nuts when people just blatantly lie and it goes completely unrebutted. So tell me your thoughts.